We are now joined by Trivago CEO Rolf Schroemgens. Wonderful to have you here at the NOAA conference. And indeed, you quite recently went public as a company. How are the public markets treating you?
I think it's going well so far. So we started with €11. That was the first price, and now we're at 19 something. So feels pretty well. But I think that is not the most important thing. So the stock price is not the most important thing. The question is like, how do we feel as a company? How are we still able to progress, to innovate? And that feels really, really good.
It doesn't ever change things, the whole necessity of every quarter having to put out your numbers. Does it distract you at all from the innovation focus?
No, it's not. I mean, you have to put up numbers anyway, like every month, right? Not every quarter, every month. And the other thing is just how do you make yourself like a slave of the public opinion, right? So, and I think that's important. So and no, we feel very comfortable to take long-term decisions, and we don't look at the stock price so much. So for us, it's fine, really.
What about the investor base? It was interesting that PAR Capital Management, they're known as a quite perhaps forthright investor, took quite a significant chunk of your investor base. They're 21% stake at one point. Are you ever worried by activist investors?
No, I think they really look at the business model very, very closely, and I think they were maybe one of the first one really understanding it in depth. Yeah? So, and I think that was maybe also missing in the beginning. So when we went public, I think we were very new to the markets, and people had to get used to us, and there were people who were just understanding it a little bit better, investing more early, and now they were able to make the profits from that. So I think that's good. So I love if people really understand the model and if they really look in depth into it.
How do you explain your model? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you ensure that people are grasping it properly?
So for us, it's really, we are an aggregator, and we are a search. And I think that is a really big differentiator, because basically you have lots of players in this market. You have OTAs in this market, you have hotel chains, you have individual hotels. But basically nobody really gives you a comprehensive overview of the whole market. And when you're looking at building a perfect search, so really getting you into your ideal hotel, you need an aggregator, right? Because if you would not have an aggregator, how can you be really sure that you would really end up in the perfect one, right? And not in the 90% perfect one, right? So if you really want to have the perfect experience, you have to have an aggregator. You have to have an aggregator who aggregates all the different offers across all the different platforms.
When I think of your business model, I therefore look at competition and immediately, rather than perhaps Booking.coms and Expedia's, many would say, well, it's search then. Is it Google?
I mean, if we see us as a search, so as a search, of course, we are in competition with Google. Still, see, the question is, what kind of view do you have on the world, and can you believe into a world where at the end, basically, Google is dominating every single vertical? And I don't believe really into that future, because I don't believe that like a large organization becomes more efficient and more innovative just being larger. Yeah. And I think that's what we see there, because I mean Google is in this vertical and has been always in this vertical for a very, very long time, and we are disrupting this vertical. So we're taking share continuously from Google, yeah. And so I think that will be ongoing, and I think there's probably some verticals where Google will also face more competition in the future.
Do they need to face more regulation in the future?
I don't know. I mean, hopefully they rather face more competition, because then they don't have to face regulation. So for me, it would be rather cool if you have more competition in the future and less regulation. Yeah.
And do you see more competition coming through the grassroots, through the startups?
I mean, if you're looking at, for example, Amazon, Amazon today is the starting point for many product searches. It's not Google anymore. So you could say actually there is already competition in this specific vertical. And when you're looking at the travel vertical, yes, we are there. So we are a competitor to Google. And there are other verticals where you will see that. And I really believe in specialization. So really believe if you have like a very specific vertical, I think a specialist will just do it better. You can just do it better if you just concentrate on it. And there will be small verticals where people will be more successful than Google, and I think that will start, to become more and more. Yes.
The innovation in your sector, if we're just looking at hotels, are you seeing startups nipping at your heels? What would be your view? Would you look to acquire companies that potentially would add to your growth?
If you ask me, do you want to acquire a company to add it to your growth? No. because that is not the idea of Trivago. So we're growing organically, and we have grown, I think, the last quarter more than 60%, so we're growing still very fast. And there would be no competitor that we could acquire that would really add significantly to that growth. And I also ask myself often, why do you really want that? If you have a chance to get the customer directly, why do you buy another company to do that? So I'm not so sure. If you're looking at technologies, I think then it's a different thing. So if there would be a very interesting technology that would help us to really fulfill our mission statement to get everybody into their ideal hotels, then of course that would be a target, yeah? But it has to be a very specific technology that we can really use to fulfill our mission.
Where is interesting in the moment? Is it AI, as many people are talking about machine learning? Where's hot? Where would change your business model?
Yeah, I mean, everything is AI, and everything is machine learning, yeah? So I think it's not necessary to talk about it anymore. Like you could say, it's about internet. Yes, it's about AI. So you basically you have to create learning systems. When you want to create a perfect product, you have to create a system which is continuously learning, adapting. You have to not only build a product which is built like this, you have also to build your company like this. You have to build a company which is constantly learning and constantly innovating and constantly changing. And so, yes, at the end, everything is AI. Yeah. But of course, there are specialized areas where you might not have the competence that you would need. And then, of course, there might be also an acquisition target here.
When we look at your demand, when we look at the geopolitics that are out at the moment, you have customers globally. Are you seeing any concern from the consumer base, for example, in the United Kingdom at the moment, as we see economic repercussions from the Brexit vote?
So looking at it just from a Trivago perspective, I don't see a lot of influence there, because the macro trends, basically we're speaking in this market, we're speaking about still a very good growth ratio of between 4 and 5%, right? So if this growth ratio is instead of 5%, it would be 4%, then it would be a big impact already, right? So that would be a big economic global impact. Looking at Trivago growing with 68% year on year the last quarter, growing instead of 68, 67% is not really making a big change for us. So looking at the macro effects is for us right now. Maybe that will change in the future, but macro effects are not the most important things for us. And that's why I'm probably not the best person to talk to. Just looking at it from a personal level, it really concerns me. I think it should be more concerning maybe for the UK than for the rest of Europe, but it's generally not a good thing for all of us.
And lastly, what about talent? When you are hiring, when you're looking to innovate, disrupt yourself all the time, where are you finding that talent? Is it getting harder and harder?
It's not really getting hard, there's lots of talent. I see a lot of talent, but a lot of not motivated people, yeah. Or not right motivated people, yeah. So I think you just have to make use of this enormous talent. So generally, no, there is enough talent, but we are really looking for international talent. So we are 80% of people who start at Trivago, or more than 80% who start at Trivago, are actually not German. So they're coming from all over the world. And we really believe that this is part of our success, to have a very, very diverse group of people together, because when you have a diverse group of people, you're always getting a lot of different perspective on a problem. And more perspective is more information, It's if you would have an image recognition AI and you don't have one picture, but you have 5, it's just way superior, right? And that's the same thing with diversity in many dimensions. It's not only gender, it's also like cultural background and so on. So you need many diverse angles to look at the problem to come up with the best solution.
Well, Schroemgens, we wish you well with that diverse talent pool and that continuing innovation. Thank you very much indeed. That was the CEO of Trivago.